Peace, family. This is Grinder Spencer, aka Grinder, the Strong Dad Coach, and this is my lovely wife, co-host, and best friend, Jazza Love. We are Black Families Rising. Thank you guys for joining us. And this is a very, very special interview for us today. We're interviewing a very special lady from the New Bern Juneteenth Committee.
Yes.
So we're doing this because we're also part of the committee, and we wanted to give our services and let everybody know what was going on here in New Bern, North Carolina. So thank you for joining us.
Thank you guys for having me. This is an absolute pleasure for me, and I'm excited to see some of our Black creatives coming on board this year. I'm super looking forward to seeing more of you guys' work and being able to share that with our community. And I'm happy to have you on board.
Thank you. And we do appreciate you giving us the opportunity to be able to interview you all. You are big in New Bern. Okay. Signs are everywhere and we're excited
Awesome.
to hear about Juneteenth. And this is amazing, especially coming from where I'm from. We don't have Juneteenth celebrations at all. So to be able to be a part of one and to experience it, especially amongst family, I'm so grateful to be a part, and I'm excited. I'm so excited. So we're gonna talk about all the good things, and then we're gonna first lead off with you just introducing yourself, saying your name, because I don't like to mispronounce names at all. So
that's why I didn't even try.
I wasn't gonna try.
It's fine. It is. My name is Talina Massey. And if you are close friends and family, you know me as Talina Lynn or just Lynn. Absolutely.
All right. Great. So tell everybody a little bit about your background and who you are, and then we'll get into why Juneteenth is so important to you and why it was so important to bring it here to New Bern, North Carolina.
Sure. So I am a humble little Black girl from the east side of Buffalo, New York. That's the way I like to look at it, because if I remember my humble beginnings, I can remember how far God has brought me. So I try to make sure that I remember that little girl back in Buffalo who was on the drill team, who played tag, and in the parking lot next to our house, who lived across the street from a church and who could constantly hear church music throughout the streets as they were practicing, and who also visited often their church pantry and clothes closet. So I'm the kind of kid. I would like to say one of the most authentic Black experiences growing up that you could. Right in the hood, grew up with 4 cousins in the house with me, raised by our grandmother in a 2-bedroom home with an aunt downstairs and 3 other cousins. So I had a lot of family. I did. And I was never alone, but I am an only child. So I feel as though my upbringing made me humble. It also helped me to understand who I am, authentically who I am, and to get along well with others. So I bring all of that experience forward with me because it's that little girl who also saw the major Juneteenth celebrations in Buffalo growing up and said, I want to be a part of that. I like this. One of the first essay awards I won, written awards I won in elementary school was for writing an essay on Bessie Coleman around, it was a Juneteenth initiative that they had in school before the end of school. Mm-hmm. So Juneteenth has always been a part of my childhood. And also in my adulthood, as I left Buffalo and embarked on a military career, I would go home, and in the summertime, it was always, did you go to the Juneteenth festival? People are constantly talking about it throughout the city. Did you make it for Juneteenth? Because back in Buffalo, I used to walk the parade, be on the floats, drill in it. I was involved in every stage of my life. Juneteenth was somehow there in the hood. They had a Juneteenth building. They had a Juneteenth headquarters that was an old bank. So you can go there actually and get materials throughout the year and, let them know that your drill team wanted to be a part of it, or, your band or whatever. It was a part of our community. So to then come somewhere where it wasn't, it struck me as odd because there's so much history here and you see it and feel it all around you. You see Civil War battle sites and James City, settlement of free men. And you can't help but wonder, well, why don't we celebrate this diverse history?
Right.
And then that's when you go down the rabbit hole of the things that are tolerated and celebrated in certain areas. And the education you may or may not receive because you live or were born and raised somewhere that doesn't necessarily celebrate that history. I don't want any more children to grow up in New Bern and not understand the importance of their heritage and of things like Juneteenth, participating in the platforms that we have to celebrate our history. So, and I knew that my kids had participated in Juneteenth parades back in Buffalo. So to come here and not be able to see that, and they were still kids and none of their friends could experience that, was a hole that I felt, or a gap that I needed to stand in. And I'm a gap filler. You see a need, fill a need. So that is absolutely why it's important. That tells, a good amount of who I am and the type of organization and seriousness that I bring to celebrating our heritage. I think it's absolutely imperative that we do it because every child needs to be able to see a celebration of who they are and where they've come from.
I was excited to see, because we was going to do a Juneteenth event. I know we talked to you about it earlier prior to this meeting, but we was going to do one. And when I Googled and looked it up, and I was like, oh, babe, they already got one going on. He was like, what?
Right.
Born and raised. He's like, when that started? I'm like, we need to find out. So we got in touch with a friend of ours that knew someone and sent us the email, and then we was able to join the Zoom call from there. But it was amazing seeing that lit me up, because the only thing we were able to do was during COVID was something online with a friend of ours that was living in Africa at the time. Now she moved back to the States, but she was in Africa. So we called it the Emancipation Movement. And so
yes.
So she was able to get Dr. Boyce Watkins to speak, and it was great to have so many different people on the call, and we was excited about that. But since then, we didn't see anything else, and so we was excited to see that something else was going on, especially in little New Bern. It's like, okay.
And that spoke volumes for me. And that really spoke volumes for me, being born and raised here. I can't even lie. Everybody always celebrated the 4th of July, Independence Day. And it was just, Juneteenth was not taught here. It was honestly, I'll be honest, it was a few years ago before I honestly knew about Juneteenth. And then we celebrated it, we implemented it to our family and stuff like that. But a lot of people didn't know. A lot of people still don't know. Like when when we were in Indiana, I was saying, "Hey, happy Juneteenth" to people, and it was like, "What is that?" And that's when it hit me, like, wow, we really need to educate, like you said, educate the young, and not just the young, older people as well, because again, a lot of people just did not know about it, and a lot of that stuff was hidden on purpose. So we ain't even gonna go there. That's another conversation.
Absolutely. I don't think Juneteenth is a part of CRT. I don't think it's any of that. You don't have to be super critical to understand it. It's very, even the youngest of children whom we have, essay contests and stuff for regarding Juneteenth in the past we did, can understand that concept of emancipation and celebrating, being able to celebrate your fellow Americans having another level of freedom and empowerment. That's not hard. Kids can understand that. So it tells me that it was hidden on purpose. It absolutely was. Because again, the shock for me was going outside of Buffalo and realizing people didn't celebrate it. And for us, it was like it was a holiday. Like you literally got off early.
Right.
So you could go in. I'm like, man, you ain't got no turkey legs, no dashikis, no oil, no nothing. Y'all not doing nothing. Man. So, you know, but I also understand the dynamics of growing up in the North and growing up in the South. A lot of their culture that I did see that looked like what Juneteenth was back at home were like football games and homecoming and stuff like that. That's the energy that we have around Juneteenth and North and Buffalo. So to come here and not see that energy put into our history and our culture, but more or less we could do athletically or physically, it was like we are so much more than that. Although I love football, like I am a true fan, but I want to be just as hype about the people that came before us and laid the path for us to be able to do the things that we do. And one of those other things too that I want to differentiate with people are that Juneteenth was celebrated here. They had one event probably 2 years before I came around and was really talking about it. I didn't know anything about it, or either like just right before I might have moved here. I moved here in 2015. So they said before I got here, there was a program, but it never stuck. It was like 1 year and then it was gone. What is the closest thing around here that they celebrate is John Canoe. And I would ask folks to, if you hear this podcast, to go out and do your research on John Canoe, because just as people are ignorant about Juneteenth, and ignorance, I mean uneducated in Juneteenth, I was ignorant to John Canoe and couldn't understand the allure of it, because to me, and this is my immature mind before I really, it settled in my mind that is another cultural celebration that is not talked about as much. I was like, John Canoe sounds like slave Christmas to me. And why would slaves be celebrating Christmas? You know, for me, I was like, how do y'all have that but don't have Juneteenth? You know, liberation and freedom. But I said all that to say, not yet. I said all that to say that I had to learn, I had to be educated by Miss Sharon Bryant about the significance of John Canoe. So very, very briefly, John Canoe, if you don't know, it's only celebrated like in the Caribbean and here in New Bern. So when we talk about the interesting things that come out of New Bern is an absolute gem in the crown of North Carolina. If people don't know, they need to come visit New Bern. If all you know about North Carolina is Charlotte or Raleigh, they need to come to New Bern, because there is so much history steeped in this little area. And for it to have been the first capital of North Carolina, it was for a reason. There is stuff here that is appealing to so many people. So John Canoe was the time of year where slaves could go from plantation to plantation, house to house, master to master, performing songs and dance for trinkets from the master. Now, whether that was gifts or, you know, of wine or food, or going to be able to see your spouse that was taken to a nearby plantation, or your children that were sold off. This was the only time of year that an enslaved person could potentially go to another plantation and see people that they knew. So, or their plantation. So John Canoe, it was a merry time in a sense, if there ever could be. It was a time for them to be able to go see, you know, and at least have some sort of hope of what they could possibly accomplish that day. So for me, I was like, that's where cooning comes from. When we say Black folks are cooning and they performing for the white masters, they got it from John Canoe, John Coonery. So that's where that term cooning comes from. It comes from John Canoe, performing for masters in order to receive trinkets. And what I didn't understand and what Ms. Sharon had to explain to me was that was also time for them to go spread knowledge and information to other plantations, like escape routes.
Right.
So I had to look at it for the lemonade and not the lemons in order to respect it. Now I have a much different appreciation for John Canoe than I had before, but they are both beautiful celebrations of our culture, of how we took a bad situation and turned it into empowerment.
Well, thank
So
you
yeah.
so much.
Wow.
Yes,
Thank you for sharing that. I knew about it, but then when you stated what it was, it just reminded me, because I honestly haven't thought about that, slavery.
and I'm grateful and glad that you did it, because one of the things that they only know about New Bern, North Carolina, every time someone I would say, yeah, I'm from New Bern, North Carolina, they'd be like, oh, that's the birthplace of Pepsi. That's not.
Yep.
Yes, that's what we're known for, but no, there's so much more, so much more. And so I'm very glad that you brought light to that. Thank you so much for doing that. Yes, everybody listening, like she said, please research John Canoe, learn more about it, and research Juneteenth, learn more about it. You know, it's something that needs to be taught to our children, very much so, because it's not being taught in schools. And as much as it's out there, I would hate to say the information about it it's vague. It's like, here, touch and go, and that's crazy. But anyway,
it absolutely is. It is. And again, we know, the design of that, of why it is that way. And the only way that we break the chain is if we continue to educate each other on I always tell people, even in business, you got to answer the so what factor. So what does that have to do with me? And until you answer that, people aren't going to have either an intellectual or emotional investment in what you're talking about. So it's important that we, especially when we're doing our history, and not only our history period, it's American history, because you have a lot of our children who are sitting in these classes and they're hearing stories and reading things that they feel as though don't relate to them. So if you can, the more knowledge and information that you can get out to them and tell them about their history, and get them interested in themselves, then it's going to be difficult to continue to teach a history that as though isn't theirs.
That's true. Very true.
That's why it's important as well. And again, our children, Black and brown children, need to see people in successful stories that look like them. And what is more successful than hearing about a whole gang of your family members that were able to empower themselves and skate up on out the plantation and go and find a way to make it so that we're all able to sit here today and enjoy those freedoms that so many people weren't able to enjoy. And even when they were supposed to be able to enjoy them, they still had to wait 2 years to hear about it.
Yep, that's true. That's true. They was notified.
Right.
You were supposed to be free. What?
Right. It might be in your spam. Go check your spam.
Right. Nobody told you.
Because we know ain't nothing worse than knowing that something coming to us and it's just sitting there and we didn't, we couldn't find it, or we weren't notified about it. That's like having a check or money sitting in your bank account and nobody told you that it was there.
Yeah.
And, I want what's coming to me. Let me know ASAP.
Right.
But I'm so glad as well. I want to thank, and I'm not trying to be political at all, but at the end of the day, it was done under President Biden, for making it a federal holiday, because I fear, had he not, there would still be so many of us that don't know anything about Juneteenth.
That's true.
That's true.
So when he did it, he opened the floodgates for resources, and including education and materials, and sadly, capitalists to be able to capitalize off of that holiday. And that's evident in Walmart's red, black, and green ice cream.
Oh, wow.
Absolutely. And all the decorations that you now see, celebrating Juneteenth, and more power to them. But at the end of the day, there have been a lot of us out here for much longer trying to educate people on Juneteenth. And again, I just want to thank everyone's efforts, all of you who are out there looking for this knowledge, trying to find it, seeking it out, like you all, looking in your local areas to see how you can impact Juneteenth and Juneteenth impacts you. I'm so glad you were able to find us. We put a lot of work into ensuring that even right now, I think I might have said it on a call, if you Google Juneteenth Festival, the Juneteenth of New Bern is one of the first ones to pop up on that first page. And that's crazy. Out of everybody that celebrates, we're little birthplace of Pepsi is one of the first things that you see, or some of the first images that you see when you look up Juneteenth. And that's not an easy feat, but we did it. And I believe it's because we have been very adamant about ensuring that Juneteenth does not live with one individual, one organization. Of course, it is now a nonprofit, but we know that it started as a coalition of people. And it only became a nonprofit because that coalition was so successful that we ultimately had to find a way to organize everything that we were doing and the resources that we were receiving. And in order for people to continue to give those resources over and over again throughout the years, we had to have a way for them to be able to track or write off some of the things that they were giving us. That's just it. For business entities and business purposes, we needed to create this nonprofit. And it was never any question. It was always going to be a nonprofit because profit off of our history, education. Or who are we to decide that we should make it a corporation or try to make money off of it? No, this education belongs to all of us and everybody in the coalition itself. So it only made sense to make a nonprofit. But once again, as y'all have seen, we try to keep it open to everyone. We don't exclude people. The doors of the church are wide open. Anybody is welcome to come in. And as long as they're trying to educate and celebrate this with integrity. That's my biggest thing. And y'all hear that. That's a common thread through my businesses and anywhere that I serve in integrity, so that nobody can ever question why you do what you do or how, where the money goes or things like that. I want the community to know that I'm a good steward, and that as long as I'm involved, it's going to have integrity. And I want to make sure that it's not about me. That's why I say I'm so humble, because I realize that there's a bigger picture, and I may not always be in New Bern. I'm not always going to be alive, but what I am doing is trying to set up a platform for the future generations, future people, new people who look us up and want to be a part of it. Y'all feel open and y'all feel welcome, and y'all feel like this is y'all's too. Juneteenth belongs to all of us. And so I want to make sure that it is in good standing, and that we are doing the things that the community is asking us to do, to make sure that we represent them well. Because again, I'm not from here. I'm an adopted daughter of New Bern. I did serve at Cherry Point. My son was born here. And they went to school here. They're graduates of the schools here, Grove C. Fields and New Bern High, and all of that. So I want to ensure that I am leaving or setting a good example for them, and leaving something that should they decide to stay in this area or, go and come back, that they have something that they could be proud of being a part of, as well as wanting to do the work to continue to make it better and better and better.
Thank you. We appreciate you being here, and we appreciate what you're doing.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we do. I feel one.
Thank y'all.
I love to see it.
I definitely, I'll be trying my best, my very best, to make sure that I hate to be, for somebody, y'all ever had somebody come in your house and they try to tell you better about your house or your children than you know for yourself? Like,
Yes.
I hate for an outsider to come in and tell me that they know better for my situation than I know for myself. And bringing Juneteenth to the forefront of the community's, minds, I was like, I can't come in here and pretend that I know better for them than they know for themselves. Because I'm not from here. I want to respect and honor everybody and their opinions. Even though I've been doing Juneteenth for a long time, have a lot of experience. I'm telling you, they got pictures of me in a baby stroller at a Juneteenth parade. My mama does. So I know a thing or three about Juneteenth, but I also know us.
Right.
And I'm not gonna come in here in nobody's house and tell them about themselves or that I know better. So this really took a lot of time. We had to cultivate it. We had to sow the seeds first. I feel like we're at the point of seeing the blades. But we're not necessarily reaping the fruit. We are growing this thing. We are tilling the ground. We are making sure it's fertile ground for new things to come and new things to grow. So that's the period that I feel like Juneteenth of New Bern is right now. Is we're still, planting the seeds and tilling the ground, but I'm starting to see the plants grow. And I think it's amazing just by watching, other people are now getting excited. We have new people coming on every year and saying, I have an idea. I want to do something. I've always wanted, or I wanted to be a part of Juneteenth. I just didn't know how. Or I never knew about Juneteenth and I'm excited about, how can I get involved? They can literally come on the meetings or see us out and we will go step by step, have a whole conversation about, yes, let's do this because we're just as excited as you are. So that was the biggest thing, I think, in overcoming a lot of Juneteenth hurdles here in Eastern North Carolina was, first of all, not being afraid to do something that everybody else wasn't doing, because I've noticed here they like to watch other people go first and then they'll do it. But even with the Board of Aldermen, when I was trying to explain to them year after year, going there fighting for resources to host Juneteenth events, they wanted to know I had to include in my presentation what other counties and other cities in the area were doing. And in them first couple years, it wasn't much to put on there. But I tried my best to find events that were happening all over North Carolina and reshare it and repost it and add it. Back then I was adding all the events that I saw about Juneteenth to our Juneteenth schedule, saying, hey, here are the 1 or 2 or 3 offerings we have. But then if you are somewhere in Kinston, or if you're in Jacksonville, or they have an event going on here. So I would actually pull other people's information and say, see, we're not the only ones. So we're not alone, but it's crazy how you have to build from that. Like it's almost a copycat kind of environment where I'm very also used to innovative spaces where you're the one. So, and I'm okay with that too. I was a Marine. So I tell people all the time, if I'm leading something, I don't mind being the first one over the hill. So I can come back and say, either it's good or come back with the arrows in my back and say, hey, I might not want to go over there. Stay waiting for you. But I'm that kind of leader. I'll dive in head first so I can give you the experience and teach you the process. And I don't hold anything, information captive. I'm not one of them people. You ask me anything. If I don't know, I tell you I don't know. Well, I'll connect you to the person that can. So with that spirit of connecting and educating and supporting each other and holding each other up and not being afraid to be innovative and not being afraid to hear no, because there were multiple times the city of New Bern, some of the aldermen was like, yeah, no. There were times that I remember going in uncomfortable spaces with people who were looking at me like, did you just say a celebration of culture?
Right.
We're not giving you no money for that.
Right.
And it was a lot of no's. It was a lot of disgusted faces looking at me like, yeah, this is crackhead talking about. And I remember that. And some days I used to be really frustrated, like, man, like, how could y'all not enjoy or value our history as much as everything else? But you're going to go in the next couple of weeks and celebrate a freedom that wasn't ours.
That's
Right.
right. That's right. Absolutely.
That's true.
So
Absolutely.
I don't understand, like, but anyway, we've gotten past that. And again, I mean, we still have a lot of doors to break down and barriers to break. And there's still a lot of skepticism, but it has come a lot further than it was in the first couple of years. Because the first year was just a lecture series at Tryon Palace, just trying to educate folks. Miss Sharon was the only one that believed. John Canoe and Juneteenth together. They was the only one that believed. And then, the second year it was there's a cultural festival here called Duff Fest. I heard that was another cultural celebration in our community that was, kind of waning. And I was like, hey, not on my watch. Let's bring some other things to the table, including Juneteenth. Let's talk
Right.
about that. And then again, it just kind of grew a little bit, maybe not at first in popularity, but just in tenacity of having somebody that had something different or something that they might have heard about a long time ago, but didn't quite work. But, they might have thought it was a revamp or something, but
Right.
people were kind of listening and kind of skeptical. And that's even us.
Yes.
Weren't quite sure who this little light-skinned girl from New York trying to come tell us about Black history. As if I was neon black.
Right.
But I always tell people, we fight two fights, and they're parallel to each other, and both can be true at the same time. We fight an internal fight amongst each other. And we know what that, colorism and all kinds of things that we fight within our own internal home. And then we fight the fight out there. And we know if you was born with a Black grandma, she told you we may fight in the house, but when we go outside, we are a unified front. They don't need to know our business.
That's right.
So I feel like that is the eternal struggle that we have within our community, is getting over our issues with each other and learning how to adjust and fight the external factors that are stopping us from being as great as we can be, or reaching the resources that we know we should have. So, and I'm okay with that. I understand it. I just want to show that if we connect together, we have everything we absolutely need in our community. And we are powerful. We are more powerful than we can imagine. We just have to get over individualism, or who name gonna be on it, all of that. If we could come under the umbrella, I feel like, and it's just the thought process I have, of using this platform called Juneteenth to jump off entrepreneurship, to jump off helping families and resources, to springboard our second chance initiatives and helping our individuals that were incarcerated come out and find ways to prosper through this platform. Our children, our youth, STEM, everything, our artistry, our music. We can use this platform to really make some things shake. And it's a unifying force. It is not a dividing force. So that's why we wanted to ensure that everybody knew it's a coalition, and it doesn't belong to any one individual. It belongs to everybody. So that's why we are here, and we're continuing to do what we do, and something must be worked, because we got 13 days this year.
Yes.
That's awesome.
That's the longest celebration I ever seen in my life. When I looked at it, I said, is it almost about 2 weeks?
Yes. 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 I hate to sound like that. I'm telling you, it's like a Mexican birthday party. It's gonna last.
Yeah. It keeps going.
Right. We ain't gonna let you go.
So,
yes, sir.
Talking about Juneteenth, how do you feel like, and not just in New Bern, but in our communities, period, how do you feel like, what we can do to celebrate it better or change the way we celebrate it?
First, I think we need unity.
Yeah.
That's the biggest thing, is if you have a strong organizing arm, there's nothing you can't do.
Right.
You know, I think about New Bern, and again, we talk about how we have our celebration for 2 weeks, but then we have other entities or organizations that celebrate on the same day. And with us being a small town, it's hard to separate those resources. It's a strain on resources when you try to duplicate efforts. You're doing the same thing, you're having the same celebration in two separate places on the same day at the same time. So we got to get over that. Like, and finding a way to make it respected. If we can't respect it ourselves, and expect for other people to respect. So we got to figure out how to unite and be one solid unifying force. So I would love to see that first and foremost, because again, I talk about a festival. We have great things that go on at the festival, and we also have who just show up because it's a crowd and they start selling their purses and stuff on the side of the road, and it's like, but if you would have just given your $10 or $25, we could have been sure you were covered by insurance and all this other stuff. There are reasons we're asking, because as a unified front, we're much stronger. So to cover everybody, you know, it's better if we all come together. So I would love to see it celebrated and unified. Over the years, I have been, if people see the distribution list, you'll see that there are the city council members from Jacksonville. I have city council members from Kinston. I send them all of our stuff. I've shown people the blueprint of how to put it together, of going through just the days and having the meetings and then adding information as you go, you know, how I go through the schedule and then add in additional information as we go, or anybody else's ideas, just let us know. So I think having other people around you informed or educating them of how to do it as well, ultimately, I think we will be a good Juneteenth of Eastern North Carolina. And then see how we continue to expand further out from that, because I think we get a statewide recognition, again, with us being on the state tour website and having had people like, you know, Reverend William Barber's son on our podcast, the president of the one in Buffalo, which is one of the largest Juneteenth celebrations in the country. So making those partnerships, making those connections, you know, I feel like we're going to be unstoppable. We can find a way to unify people even within our region to celebrate Juneteenth. Do you imagine a Juneteenth conference? Some of the things and ideas that have come back to us are a Juneteenth trip to Africa in the works. I mean, you know, at least planning. People are more open to it now than they might have been 5 years ago, or, you know, 7 years ago when we started. So I think we can celebrate it by finding ways to connect the dots for people with the history. We have, like with the African American Lecture Series this year, they're talking about the Underground Railroad, its ties and connections in Eastern North Carolina. So pairing that with events like the slave quarters that we did the first day. You know, we're trying to complement all of those things. Think about the Underground Railroad and enslaved people. You could have walked through where they lived the first day, you know, in our celebration. So the 13 days have cultivated to and curated to ensure that you almost a 4D experience of what life was like at that time, how major this was for people, and really immersing yourself in the history. Because again, our first event was Saturday 8th. It was at the circa 1850 slave quarters. It was in James City, which is a settlement of freedmen from the war, and a large population of Black people settled there. They have the Far Cemetery there, which is a collection of graves of Black soldiers. So you can actually go there at the beginning of this and feel the heaviness, the weight of the importance of this history. I posted pictures on the Juneteenth of Facebook page, Juneteenth of New Bern.com. You can get to our website and see it, or you can go to our Facebook or Instagram pages and see some of the pictures. But I showed where enslaved people slept in the quarters upstairs and downstairs, some of the tools that they used. So again, I think really immersing people, not just allowing them to hear a lecture series, allowing them to see it, allowing them to feel it. We had spoken word artists out there that was breathing life into what people can only imagine in their minds. So I think that is important. That shock factor of we still have these entities around us every day. You might have drove past the airport and didn't even know it was a preserved slave quarters right on the airport grounds. How many people fly in and out of there with the freedom to fly in and out of there, not understanding that that was one of the places for enslaved people.
That's true.
That's true.
It's on purpose. So I think connecting today to with yesterday and how we got here is going to be important to celebrate during Juneteenth, as well as doing innovative, creative ways to celebrate it. Interactive websites, or if we come up with games or spelling and different things to really get people involved in learning the history, not spelling bees, but like Jeopardy, Juneteenth Jeopardy. Right. Let's get youth out here and taking those type of ideas, innovation, take it from where it could be to they should just learn in class. We know they're not teaching in class, so let's give them a fun, interactive, out of classroom experience for them to be involved in. And I think we'll find ways to continue to celebrate it more efficiently and effectively. But yeah, you got to find however to bombard people with that history. Take a bus trip to somewhere, and then on the bus trip do random pop-up trivia about Juneteenth. I mean, just any way to really get people inspired. Yeah, just be creative. Take stuff people like to do already. People to travel and take cruises and stuff like that. Give them podcasts like this to listen to while they're on the road, so that they hear about their history and be educated. That's going to be the best way we celebrate Juneteenth.
I love it. I love it. And I agree. One of the things is uniting together, because I don't know what it is about our culture where we like to do everything separate. Even like Thanksgiving, I'm having Thanksgiving at my house, you having it at your house. And so we gotta decide what house we want to go to for major holidays. So instead of all coming together and being in one place and sharing space and time with one another, we really need to work on that. And I know that has to do a lot with our history and traumas and things that we have been through that we really haven't had the time to even heal from or even consider, the things that really separate us. So.
All right.
And I totally agree. I totally agree with you. And I'm excited again to see 1, but 2, and possibly 3 advocates for this.
Right.
Or future advocates.
That's right.
So we just want to thank you for joining us. Once again, it's been an amazing conversation. But before we end it, we also want to give the opportunity and space if you want to promote anything, share. I know you just shared the website, but if you just have any special words or special messages you would like to share prior to us ending.
Absolutely. I'm just, we have a pretty thorough schedule, so I'm just trying to look through to make sure I hit all the points. Again, we did our slave quarters on Saturday. We had our Sunday service on Sunday, which at Gilfield Missionary Baptist Church, which was awesome Juneteenth message about love thy neighbor and loving ourselves. And I think, again, we talked about, having that love, which translates into educating others on our heritage, because you have to love outside of yourself in order to care about educating somebody else. So, because there are a lot of folks who could keep that Juneteenth knowledge to themselves, but it's as long as more of us are telling the stories and keep telling the stories, gonna help to progress those stories throughout our community. So it's important. I tell people all the time, I'm a fervent servant. I love service. I wouldn't have joined the military if I didn't. I didn't know none of the folks I was willing to die for. So,
Right.
but as that's just one of my passions. And so to continue to keep telling the story of Juneteenth and finding ways to tell it authentically so that people can relate to it is a passion of mine and what I enjoy doing, and clearly do it for free all the time. So that is that Sunday service was important. Just put um we have Community Health Day coming up on Tuesday, the 11th. So I just want to let people know again, and I've been really pushing this. Make sure y'all stretch before y'all come out there. Don't think that you just gonna come out there and whoop tail, or you older folks are gonna kick these younger kids' butts because you don't see people out here playing kickball like that anymore.
Right.
Just because you don't see our kids playing in the streets, don't mean that you're gonna get out there and whoop their tail. Because when it's time to get running, leave it in paper. Oh, throw it away. Sorry. So when it's time to start running, we quickly found out that a lot of folks ain't as nimble as they think they are. You know, we think just because we see it, we could do it. Like some of these TikTok
Right.
dances out here, too.
It
You
don't work
actually
like that all the
get
time.
out here and do it. Right. Line dance don't look like everybody else's. So,
Right.
right. So just please, so we don't have to have ambulance or fire department out there. Let's just make sure we take care of each other. Like I said, we'll be bringing waters and Gatorades and stuff out there. So for the stuff you move in your body health day, please stretch and take the proper precautions. For our June 12th, when we have our Divine 9 Day, if you are interested in donating to a youth going into college, especially those who are going into a dorm room, or those who may just need, they may not even be going into a dorm room, they just need supplies or something like that. Please come out to that or donate to it. We're giving out gift cards and some baskets and stuff like that. So come out. We need as many people, especially if you're HBCU and Divine 9, we need our youth who are walking through the door or even walking by the building to see us being excellent in our excellence. So to see the fraternities and sororities, and I'll have my Elizabeth City gear on out there, but they need to see us in that capacity and know that there are community mentors and the aunties and uncles out there that are willing to tell you the information that you need to know. But all you have to ask. Don't be afraid to ask. Don't be afraid to approach us and ask us anything. You don't know what you don't know. So just ask us about HBCUs and ask us about Divine 9. I wish in my childhood or at that time before I joined the military, I did have tour someone was telling me, think about going to HBCU, or, think about an alternative. I'm still happy with the decision that I made, but I feel like more youth need the exposure and access to the information to make a more informed decision about what they're going to do with their future. So let it definitely be, the kings and queens in our community in their area, so to speak. So that's going to be important, that if you are ABCU or Divine 9, that you just show up, even if you don't have any, show up so that we can show our children our Black excellence, our Black and Brown excellence. So that's important. I want people to remember that the events throughout these 13 days, we try to make them as cost efficient as possible. Almost everything is free, except 2 events. Everything is free, except for 2 of the 18 events over the 13 days. There are 2, 3. There are 3 ticket events. That is the gala on the 13th, and the rooftop celebration, and the Sankofa play on the 14th, which is the Friday after the Divine 9. So those are the only that Friday are the only events. This Thursday and Friday are only events that cost money. The Sankofa, I think, is There's less than that. Students and military, I believe it's about $12 or $13, and I think it's not that expensive. It's not even higher than the $25 tickets. So go on their website, New Bern Civic Theater, to get your ticket for that, or you can go to Eventbrite and get your ticket for the rooftop celebration. At the rooftop celebration, there will be a live painting completed of a significant building in the community, and that's all I can say. So please come. There's opportunity there to purchase right away, but there will be an island auction for everyone else to partake in to receive that, and that is from Tyrone Brown. Also be a live band, the Monterey experience. We have heard nothing but amazing things about them. When we have seen them, they have been really good. It's some young Black guys, young Black men who are showcasing again our artistry and our excellence. So we are excited to see that, as well as DJ S3, who always gets the party started. So we're excited to have him. Yeah, it's $25. Your $25 includes a meal and a drink. I don't know too many places that have been as inflation proof as these rooftop tickets, but it's not too many places you can go have good vibes, great time for just $25, and you can eat. That's true. Because we know sometimes folks ain't coming nowhere if they can't eat.
You got that
We
right.
know that. We know us.
we love,
That's
we love
true.
So, and right. And Art Walk is also that night. I want folks to know that Art Walk, it is that night. They're going to be showcasing everything, and the artists who are in the Juneteenth exhibit are actually going to be there to speak to them and see them and talk to them about, you know, what their inspiration was. The Juneteenth exhibit goes all month. So if you don't make it, still walk in to the Bank of the Arts any weekday from 9 to 5 and go see that exhibit. You do not have to pay to get in. I don't know. It's a lot of folks in some of our minority and marginalized communities. They don't visit downtown very often, and we understand why. We understand why. But I also think that because they don't know that the Bank of the Arts is free, and that is an open and public building. Walk in there anytime that they're open and look around at the art in there. And it so happens this month, they got some amazing art in there. So please come and see the artwork. I saw some amazing pictures of Michelle Obama, and I think somebody painted Drake in Future. I think I seen him painting Drake in Future. I said, I gotta go see this one.
Right.
So right, you know, I don't care if you're a Kendrick Lamar fan or not. You got to go in there and see. Right, you gotta go in there. You never know what you're gonna see. So please go. That's one thing I want people to understand is that Bank of the Arts. It was a bank, and they turned it into an art gallery. Beautiful thing. I am on the Arts Council board as well, and you can anybody membership to the art. So they have some really great events throughout the year, but you can know people don't know rent the building as a venue, and it's only $500. So if you have a birthday or something and you want a unique venue art, especially Juneteenth art, but a diverse mix of artists in there, the Barris is a great place to consider. But I also understand why people don't go downtown, because we know they sold a lot of enslaved people downtown at the courthouse, and right where Chelsea is at, so, which brings to the rooftop celebration again. We're very intentional about where we host these things, because we know that in that section of downtown right there where a lot of our ancestors were sold off, and so we come as again our ancestors' wildest dreams when we come back, where it's coming back to what we know. So it's very important for us to have these events all over New Bern, surrounding areas like Game City. So that's something that I really want people to pay attention to. Learning about the history. Look around you on the streets and look at the signs and see how they relate to such Juneteenth history and why I chose the places we chose. Because for us, it is deeper than just having a party somewhere or having a get together or a barbecue somewhere. They actually have meaning behind them. So we want you to understand the meaning. At the festival Well, I don't think I can say it's enough. Community Bear is going to be revealed there, and it took all these community dollars. Yes, and it will also, after that, be on the tourism development websites. People are tourists when they walk around New Bern and they're trying to find these bears. Our bear will be out there for them to locate as well. Also, we will be having a second chance reception. We will have a second chance reception for caretakers that we bailed out for Mother's Day. They will be at the Juneteenth Festival. You'll be able to see them. They will have on their t-shirts. And there will be a small reception for them at my sister's, which is a transition home right next to where Fest will be doing chalk art contest for the kids. So that's a really good place to go by and see, especially if you care about that cause. We hope that everybody does, because second chance citizens are just as valuable as our first chance citizens. So we want to empower them as well to continue to stay on the right path. And you do that by having a network of support out and around you. One of the biggest things that we do, nonprofit, Haven County Community Bail Fund is a nonprofit that I'm the director of. We try to tell folks in one of our requisites for getting people bailed out at no cost to them. So we don't do 10% like bondsmen or anything. Pay their entire bond, bail them out. And one of the things that we're not allowed to do is bail out anyone who does not have support services outside of the jail. So if they don't have a family member or people around them, they encouraging them to go to court to make sure that they stay on the right path, then they are considered high risk. I can't bail them out. I'm doing the same thing in our community. I have to ensure that these people have, these family members, extended family members, have a supportive network around them. And that's what we're doing with the Juneteenth Festival, is making it homecoming them and ensure to them that there are resources out here to help you. You are not alone. Do not go back to jail because you felt like you were alone and you had no help or, no resources, because that's not true.
Right.
Even in this small town, it feels like the resources are few, and sometimes they are, but can at least connect you to it, in a sense of, hey, horse, here's water. Now I'm gonna dunk your head, but I'm gonna show you what the water is. And the rest is on you. So, but I wanted to reiterate that we'll be celebrating those people on that day as well. And I say people because they're not all mothers. It was the Black Mamas Out campaign, but we also know that caretakers aren't always mothers. We have single mothers. We have people that care for their parents, their disabled siblings. Those are caretakers, and that doesn't come with a color. That condition does not come with color. So some of those bailouts were Caucasian or Latinx or LGBTQIA. Am I missing one? LGBTQIA plus.
I think you got it.
Thank you. I was about to say, it's you're not saying that community or anything like that is a joke, but the running joke amongst me and my pride friends are, I'll be like, how's legit a bit of Q doing today?
Right. Yeah.
We laugh at people. I have found a way to see it.
Right.
But yeah, we want those individuals as well to understand that we know that every shade of persons in our community, so they celebrate as well. And you will see them around our Juneteenth celebrations as well. So that is super important. Please come back for the fireworks. Everybody loves fireworks. So we try to do bigger and better every year. And this year, I think we're going to have a good display. If we don't, we'll have a survey online where you go on and tell us things that we could have done better, things that you want to see. If you have ideas, please let us know. Nobody's going to run off with your idea. We're going to kindly invite you to the table and say, please tell us how we can make a better plate and which ingredient you're bringing to the table. That's it. So you got corn, get corn, potatoes. Okay, who else? We got any starches? Let's figure out proteins. That's kind of how we organize
That's
it.
right.
It's an authentic feel. The Mayafa barbecue, which is on Juneteenth this year, Juneteenth barbecue at Union Point Park. Again, it's at Union Point. That is another place where ships came by and, told people about their offerings, sold enslaved people. So Union Point is supposed to be where everything comes together. So we come together on that day, and that is an open barbecue to everybody, as long as you are a supporter, a volunteer, or a community partner, a vendor, somebody that came and lent your time or your talent to Juneteenth in some kind of way, or somebody that's trying to learn more about Juneteenth. So I check all those boxes, because anybody walking by that's in the park that is like, hey, what y'all got going over there? Is this they usually ask like, is it sort of a family reunion or something? No, kind of, but everybody's invited. So, while you standing here waiting on your hot dog or your hamburger, let me tell you about our history. Gotcha.
Right.
That's how we do it. And I think that's how those ideas, those little tips that we use, are ways that we're going to continue to try to spread the word about Juneteenth, not just in our community, because we know the struggles that we've been through, but we also know that some of our other family members don't know. And so while we're educating each other internally, we also have to do the hard work of unifying to educate externally and make people respect history. I hear a lot of our community saying, oh, we have Black History Month and it's the shortest month. Well, make them respect you.
That's right.
That's true.
That's how I look at it. So, let's see if we can get to 15 days next year. I'm excited. We did have somebody come in yesterday. Yeah, we had someone come in yesterday, and they wanted, to add their event that they're having on 25th of June, Juneteenth schedule. We've already put out our commercials and things like that, so it's kind of difficult at this point. But absolutely, we promote, we share. If there are people listening to this, you have a Juneteenth event going on somewhere else, please send it to us. We'll share it on the page, because we are vessels of getting the word and education out about Juneteenth. And then I hope to see some of y'all around, so that we can actually talk in person.
All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us for this interview. We really appreciate it. Thank you for letting us be a part of the committee.
Yes.
And to the listeners, Black Families Rising, you heard her talk about the bear. Our names will be on the bear.
Yes.
Also, I will be, as she was talking about the health day and everyone stretching, I will be there to help you guys stretch out, because I don't want to see anybody passing out or falling out or getting hurt. So I'm going to be there to help stretch everyone out and give my services. We'll also be there at the rooftop event and everything as well. So with that being said, again, thank you so much for joining us. Had a great conversation with you, great conversation. Feel like we're family.
Yes.
And I'm gonna let my wife end it off.
Well, I guess I can end it. It's been great. Of course, we will have all the scheduling attached to this podcast. So if you see it on Juneteenth, or on our Juneteenth page, or on our YouTube, or on Spotify, or wherever you find this podcast, on Instagram, wherever, you'll be able to see the schedule, so you don't have to, keep replaying, trying to figure out what day is what. So we got you. We will make sure all the information we have, you can easily find it, so you can participate and be a part of Juneteenth, as well as, like she said, let us know what you have going on for Juneteenth, or if there's any other celebrations, so we can also promote that as well, because it's important for everybody to know where they can celebrate and be a part of Juneteenth, for those that just even finding out that Juneteenth even exists. Right. Okay, so with that being said, we're going to close it out.
And as always, Thank you guys for listening. As we say all the time, keep striving.
Keep riding.
Peace.
Peace.
Free in the mind.
Peace.
Free in the mind. You can't own a child of God. Free in the mind. Okay. Yeah. No matter how it's going, live a little life. Stack that paper, be faithful to your wife. And if you lock down, Machiavelli, hold your head. If you lock down, Machiavelli, hold your head. The Don Illuminati, all through your body. Watch the word of God blast, 12 gate shot it.